What is up guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video we are partnering with Dipped Products, also known as DPL, and we're going to be following the journey of rubber from seedling all the way to the end product and really learn how Sri Lankans have been able to harness the golden milk of this tree.
All that rubber for what?
For what? People don't realize how useful it is to us. Walking, sitting, riding, playing, working, sleeping.
It's everywhere.
In 1876, the British planted 1,919 rubber seeds right here in the Gampaha Botanical Garden. By 2012, over 430,000 acres of land around this island have been covered by this amazingly generous tree that contributes over $1 billion to the economy of this country. Now the question remains, is it all sustainable and who really benefited from it? Our journey begins at one of DPL's plantations in the Monaragala district of Sri Lanka, which is a region known for a number of smallholder estates. Right now we are inside the nursery, but before these seeds get to the nursery, first they are collected from all around the plantations and brought here. And the nursery provides the perfect conditions to ensure that these seeds sprout. The conditions require 50% shade, as well as some of the best river sand that you can find, and of course the perfect amount of river sand, which is about 5 centimeters in depth, I believe, and it is watered twice a day through this irrigation system, following which you will bury these seeds, and within a week's time they will begin to sprout. For every square meter you require 1,000 seeds, which is about 4 kg worth of seeds, and the reason for this is that only 50% of it actually make the cut. And by making the cut, what I mean is that you will only use the first 50% of seeds that sprout, because these are deemed to have the best life force, the strongest, and are the ones that are deemed to make the journey to maturity. Once these seeds have sprouted, they will then be moved into poly bags, and then they will grow outside of the nursery up until the stem reaches about a pencil thickness, which is the general term that is used to identify when the plant is ready. And once the plant is ready, you move on to one of the most important parts of this process, which is the budding process. Outside of the private nurseries, such as the ones that DPL maintains, the Rubber Research Institute of Sri Lanka has a number of nurseries around the island where farmers can benefit from the past know-how possessed through years of research and development done on this crop. What's happening here is the budding process that we discussed earlier. Essentially, what you want to do is snip off this plant, which has grown to about 6 centimeters, and you kind of cut it off, take off a bit of the bark, and then you connect a piece of what is called the mother plant. So this is a plant that has the characteristics that is desired, that grows well and produces well, and not all plants have this. So there's always a certain amount of the mother plant that is maintained, and you want to take a very specific part of the mother plant, which is located right here, and what he's doing is he's tearing it off very gently and with a lot of skill, and he's pasting that part onto the plant that he has taken off, and he's wrapping it together with some polythene, and what this allows is for a new shoot to come out that has the characteristics of the mother plant. Now what I explained is in very much layman terms, and it is a much more complex process, but it is very much like magic to me, I must say. Unlike in the case of other industrial crops where the farmer grows the crop from start to finish, in the rubber industry in Sri Lanka, majority of trees are grown in such nurseries, both state and privately owned ones, which ensures that the most optimal strain is developed for harvesting for the next 3 decades. Once the budding process is completed, the plant is allowed to rest for 3 weeks in order to judge whether the process was a success or a failure. And the way that you go about doing this is by observing the area which you attach the mother plant onto the seedling plant, also known as the scion, and observing whether it is green or brown. Because if it is brown, that means it was a failure and the plant hasn't accepted it. And if it is green, that means it was a success. So once it is a success, the plant is allowed to grow for a period of 11 months with utmost care given to it through irrigation, watering, fertilizer, and among many other things to ensure the plant grows into this level where it has about 2 layers of leaves growing on it, and the plant is deemed ready to be given to the farmer when the top layer of the leaves is turned, and I quote, an apple green. That is the term. Once that level has been reached, the plant is now ready to be given to the farmer. And the really important thing is that this 1 year that the plant spends here from seed to this level is of great importance, because this is where you pick out the plants that are going to succeed and grow and be fruitful for the next 30 years. So this is a very, very important process, this 1 year in a plant that is going to live up to 30, maybe even more years. The thing that stands out to me the most so far in the rubber plantation is how technical it is in comparison to other plantations of other crops. And it really is the knowledge, skill, and expertise of the local farmers that brings all of this together. And speaking of the farmers, we're here at what is known as a vadia, or a resting point, here within the nursery. And this is a place where during the very warm hours of the day, or when they're tired, they would rest and have their meals here. And I am doing the same. And now, the final stage before the plant takes root for the next 24 to 30 years. Here we have a lot of standards that need to be met when you're planting a rubber tree. For example, the first is that the hole that you plant it in will always be 2 by 2 with a depth of 2.5 feet. And every acre of a rubber plantation has 208 plants that have been very strategically laid out to ensure every plant gets maximum exposure to the sun and nutrients and don't end up competing with each other. And now I am going to attempt to put this in and plant it, a rubber tree of Sheneller. One other really important thing to note is that when you place your plant in the hole, you want to ensure that this area where the budding process was done is covered right up until here. And before you put the plant into the hole, the most important thing is to take off some of this bag so that it allows for the roots to spread out and take root. All right, I'm going to place it in here now. Not gonna lie, I had some help filling this up, but no shame in that. And so now what I'm doing is removing the last bit of the bag. All right, I'm going to attempt to bury this whole. Wish me luck. This is like the coconut video all over again. There's always a first. And there you have it. We have covered it up to the bud. We're not packing it too deep because that's not how it's meant to be done. And there it is. If you are in the Monoragala district or the region, please come by and try to find the Sheneller rubber tree. So from the time the tree is planted to the time where a farmer is able to take in the yield of the rubber tree, there is a 6-year period where the tree is just growing. And in that time period, usually there's nothing else the farmer can do with that land. But with the introduction of intercropping, this is something that is starting to change. Now, intercropping is a wonderful thing for farmers because it allows them to maximize the yield and output from their land, which means that now, while these immature trees are taking their time to nourish themselves and grow, you can also plant a variety of other trees in between them to increase the yield for the farmer as well as income. So here we can see a great example of that. In this estate, we have local orange, guava as well as soursop growing in between the vast spaces between the trees. Now this is a wonderful technique, and it's an interesting phenomenon because Monoragala is actually considered a very dry area, but due to this project, you've actually been able to see a slight drop in the temperature of the surrounding region as well. So this process has actually become more viable for more farmers to pick up, and thereby there's been an increase of rubber production here in this region. Another interesting fact that we learned during our time exploring these estates is significant contribution that rubber trees make towards decarbonizing our planet and positively affecting soil in dry zone areas such as this region. Whilst there are more lucrative crops to grow in the short term, the rubber tree's impact over the long term is one that should be greatly considered. So now we're going to find out how exactly a new tree will be prepped to be tapped. So once you have identified the tree is then split into two parts. And there are many ways that people like to do this. It can be either south and north, or a certain direction where when you look at all the trees you can see all the panels on one side, but essentially it's divided into two. And then the measurement is taken from the bottom of the tree and halved and placed around, and a mark is made at the bottom. Then you repeat that same process at the top here, the 4 feet mark. You measure it around, you half the measurement, and then you keep it around the diameter of the tree, and you make another mark at the top. And then with a long measuring ruler, you connect the dot at the top and at the bottom and mark one straight line. You repeat that on the other side, which will then divide the tree into 2 panels. Once the 2 panels have been identified, it's now time to mark the tree with these downward arches. That is basically going to mark the way that the tree is going to be cut for the next year. And this is done using a stencil, and it's a very specific thing because there's a reason why the tree is cut in that angle. It's always marked from the top left to the bottom right in this angle downwards. Now, as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines here. Now, this first line has already been cut into the tree, and it can continue to be cut this way for 1 whole year. So essentially this entire segment signifies 1 year. And now the stencil can be repeated on this side of the panel 6 times all the way to the bottom, which means this side of the panel will be used for the next 6 years. After which, you now need to give this side of the tree time to heal and rejuvenate. And that is why you will switch to the other side of the tree. And then you have another 6 years available on that side. And once that 6 years is done, you can move here 1 more time, followed by another. Altogether, you have about 24 years that you can cut into the tree and take sap out of. After this point, the tree is considered to be beyond its prime. The amount of milk that you can take from the tree also begins to reduce, and the tree now starts focusing on creating more fruit and more seed. And this is a great time to start collecting seeds to then begin the process. From here onwards, there are 2 ways that people usually go. And I think in Sri Lanka, what people do is they leave the tree beyond the 24 years as well, and that tends to reduce the yield. But some people will replant, uproot the tree and replant a whole new segment, and then invest that time into the next 24 to 30 years. Did you know that in Sri Lanka only 45% of rubber plantations are owned and controlled by large conglomerates? The rest of the rubber industry is very reliant on the smallholder farmers, those who own between 2 to 20 acres of rubber estates which they manage on their own. We're now at a plantation that is owned by a local farmer here in Munaragala, and this is a part of DPL's First Light initiative. Now, in this program, DPL ensures to source directly from local farmers, and this has a number of benefits. One of them is that it ensures that the community continues to farm and be self-reliant and independent while doing so. So not only are you sourcing from them and creating this fair trade relationship, but DPL goes further to ensure that the farmers are well taken care of in terms of their knowledge, that they're equipped with the highest level of knowledge so that they can improve on their plantation, and that they're equipped with the equipment that they need to ensure that they get the maximum amount of yield. And even further, on a more personal level, there's a relationship that is being built by DPL as well as the community here, and I think that is a wonderful example of business should be done. It should be mutually beneficial, where a business is able to acquire their resources but also leave a positive impact on the community. And I think this kind of program has a wonderful effect on ensuring the longevity of the rubber industry as well as the longevity of independent farmers as well. And I think that's a wonderful thing. This Light program is actually very aptly named because apparently the perfect time to tap into these rubber trees is in the very early hours, sometimes as early as 2 a.m. Now this family behind me chooses to tap their trees at 5 a.m. in the morning. So how the program works is that it allows the farmer to tap into their own trees. Now in this case, the farmer has 2 acres of land, and the farmer, including his wife and family, will get together and tap about 1 acre per day. That's about 220 trees. So after the milk has been collected, the farmer will then store it in his barrels and treat it with the necessary chemicals in order to ensure that it stays liquid and sterile, and then wait for the collection. So just how do we take this field latex and turn it into this amazing product that we see behind us? Well, today we're going to be learning just that, and we're here at one of the world's leading glove manufacturers, DPL, and this is where they create their amazing products and ship it to the rest of the world. So let's go find out how they make it. DPL's First Light team collects all of the latex from the independent farmers around the island and move it to their distribution centers. From here, it is then moved to the respective factories. Throughout this process, the quality and consistency of each farmer's latex is tracked so that there is a transparent and efficient way to work through the value chain if any contamination or loss of quality is detected throughout this process. The latex is then funneled into this segment of the factory. Now here is where they are able to take the 30% of latex that is available in the field latex, which comes from the tree, and expand it into 60% of pure latex. And it's done through these special machines called centrifuging machines that spin at a very high speed and have the ability to split the liquid into pure latex and other contents. So once it goes in here, you get an output of about 60% good pure latex. And then that is what is used to create the product such as the gloves, because you need a really good consistency and 100% latex to create them. And then the latex is moved into the intermediary tank, followed by the large bulking tanks where it will rest for up to 21 days to allow it to mature. We now move into the compounding process. This is one of the most important segments because each individual glove has its own separate chemical makeup. And this in the compounding tank is where this chemical makeup comes to be, because from the holding tank, the latex will move into the compound tank. And here, the specific chemical allotment for that specific glove is added. You allow 15 minutes for it to combine, and then it moves down into the feeding tanks. And finally, this is where all of the magic happens. We have been through this journey from seed to nursery to the extraction of pure latex from field latex, and now we are at the point where value addition happens. This is one of DPL's 5 factories around the island where they produce an arsenal of different types of gloves for each purpose and application. And it's DPL's years of experience in the industry, research, development and innovation that has led to this state-of-the-art factory where they can produce 230,000 pairs of gloves a day. That's insane. Times that into 365 and you're going to get an insane amount of gloves that is being made right here. Among the variety of gloves that DPL makes, the one that you see being produced right behind me is one of their most popular and sought after ones, and that is their electrician's gloves. And prior to visiting this factory, I tend to have thought that not much of gloves really. You know, you see them at the supermarket, they're gloves, and you use them to do dirty work or something, but you never really understand how much effort from planting a tree to extraction to maturity to the technology, as you can see behind me, a robo arm is used to make these gloves. So it's a very technologically advanced facility, and it's a job that is very purpose driven. Each glove has a lot of thought put into it. It's literally engineered for its purpose, from texture, thickness, and protection, and a lot of other things, and of course to being non-toxic for the user. So I am thoroughly impressed. I mean, who wouldn't be impressed by this? It's absolutely crazy. Now this is the electrician's glove that you see being made right behind me. You can see that it has quite thick fingers and all. And what you see here is a new product that they're launching. This is their EV Pro glove, and it's made specifically for handling the electronic components in your electric vehicle. Now, remember I said each one has been engineered with purpose. Because of that, this glove has all the properties that is necessary to protect you from an electrical shock or something along those lines. But as you can see, compared to the electrician's glove, these fingers are much sleeker, more refined, allowing you to be very nimble and slide into the crevices of your vehicle and pick things up and be very agile in that setting. So it's amazing to see how much thought has gone into creating each one of these different products, and I don't think I will go to the supermarket and look at a glove the same way. In fact, I don't think you will go to the supermarket and look at a glove the same way anymore. You live and you learn. Since TPL is a customer-oriented company, it's natural that they have this amazing state-of-the-art R&D facility, which allows them to test and develop new products that their customers are interested in. Now, here in this area is where the initial stages of prototypes go through. So here they are manually dipped, and the gloves are created in this way for the testing process. Now, today I am going to be dipping these porcelain hands and creating my own glove. And it's interesting to me because I just came from seeing the robo arm dipping like about 10 gloves in one go. So we'll see who does a better job, Chanel's hand or the robo hand. Now I must say this is actually really fun and a bit sciencey because I'm in my gloves and a lab coat, and I feel like I'm doing a really cool science experiment. All right. What's really cool about what I'm learning through this process is that Sri Lanka can be proud of the amount of innovations and patents that we have in this field when it comes to gloves specifically. There are a number of gloves that have been developed, and the innovation and R&D has been done in Sri Lanka that have been painted here as well as in the US, which is quite impressive in my opinion. Amazing. I'm sure a question that you all have in mind right now is what happens to the wastewater? And that's a question that we also have when we go to visit a lot of factories. And while each factory has its own way of treating their water, here at DPL they do have a premier treatment system where the water goes through. It then makes its way over here to this extremely long pond that kind of lines the edge of the property of the factory. And here there is an abundance of life here that like lives as a testament to just how clean the water is. In fact, further down there's even some fish that live in this water, and the fish have been attracting even further lives. So I think this is a wonderful way of approaching water treatment, and then also creating something like additionally beautiful, something that brings in life, something that's wonderful to look at, that excites all the people here at the factory to see the life that's it's bringing in. And also it's a collaborative idea as well, because right behind you there you could see there is an artificial fountain or a waterfall that has been created, an idea of a staff member. And what it's trying to do is to mimic somewhat a waterfall does. Waterfalls have a very high concentration of oxygen in that water because of that activity that happens there. And what they've tried to replicate here, just with stuff that they have lying around the factory and repurposing and recycling things. It's really exciting and intriguing, but I also like the fact that there is collaboration between everyone here, and it shows that love for the place that you work. After an extremely thorough quality control process that adheres to international standards, the products then find themselves being packaged and brought into the central storage where they will be kept until they are ready to be shipped out to their clients from over 70 countries all over the world. And for me, I think it's really incredible that we in Sri Lanka are planting our own little rubber trees, nursing them and protecting them until they're ready, harvesting from them, and have these amazing facilities that are able to take that and value add it like nothing else and create an amazing range of products that are sought after by international clients and are able to ship it out, and not only that, but make a name for specializing and being ahead of the curve in research and development, and all done in this tiny little pearl-shaped island that we call home. So this is one of the reasons why I really love this industry series, because I'm learning so much about Sri Lanka, the good work that Sri Lankans are doing, and just more things to be proud of than I had before. So overall, it's been a wonderful educational experience. I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. And on top of that, one of the most satisfying things for me to see has been the number of people that DPL alone has been able to connect, inspire, and help and support throughout this journey. I mean, if you start at the beginning of this video, we explored the lives of the farmers that are part of the First Light program and how DPL is able to engage with them, upskill them, and even provide them with the equipment that they need to increase their harvest. This means a better life for them. Fast forward all the way to the end of the process, and all I've seen in all the factories that we have visited are smiling faces, eager to help, and quite proud of the products that they are working on here. And that is always a good sign for me, and that is something that I really enjoyed. I hope you guys also picked up on that. And it's a wonderful place to be, that we are able to, as Sri Lankans, create this amazing product and make a name for ourselves. So I am very impressed with DPL, but I'm also very proud of the amazing work that Sri Lankans are doing here. And I hope that you guys learn something about this amazing Sri Lankan company, as well as how important rubber is economically as a crop to Sri Lanka. And that is the end of our rubber industry journey. It has been my pleasure to take you along. Please drop a comment down below and let me know what was your favorite part of the glove making process. Rubber is used to create a number of different products here within Sri Lanka itself. This is just one, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next industries video. Bye.